Mr. Deputy Speaker, a vital sector for our economy and a cost of doing business for everyone is energy. And creating a low-carbon economy should be done in a way that creates jobs rather than costing them. The granting of planning permission yesterday at Hinkley Point was a major step forward for new nuclear. Today, with the help of my honourable friend, the Energy Minister, we're also announcing our intention to take 2 major carbon capture and storage projects to the next stage of development. We'll support the manufacture of ultra-low emission vehicles in Britain with new tax incentives. And the honourable member for Stoke-on-Trent Central has argued passionately, and on that occasion in a non-partisan way, about the damage energy costs are doing to his city's famous ceramics industry. And he's persuaded me, so we will exempt from next year the industrial processes for that industry and some others from the climate change levy. In the spending round, we will provide support for energy-intensive industries beyond 2015. For the North Sea, we will this year sign contracts for future decommissioning relief, the expectation of which is already increasing investment there. But I also want Britain to tap into new sources of low-cost energy like shale gas. So I am introducing a generous new tax regime, including a shale gas field allowance to promote early investment. And by the summer, new planning guidance will be available alongside specific proposals to allow local communities to benefit. Shale gas is part of the future, and we will make it happen. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we can help companies grow and succeed by building infrastructure, backing local enterprise, and supporting successful sectors. But nothing beats having the most competitive business tax system of any major economy in the world. And that is what this government set out to achieve. That is what we're delivering. The accountants KPMG do a survey of investors that ranks the most competitive tax regimes in the world. 3 years ago, we were near the bottom of that table. Now we're at the top. But in this global race, we cannot stand still. So today we step up the pace. Our Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme offers generous incentives to investors in startups. My honourable friend for Braintree and David Young have done a great job helping promote it around the country. They've asked me to extend the CGT holiday, and I will. Employee ownership helps create an enterprise culture. So we're making our new employee shareholder status more generous with NICs and income tax relief. And we're introducing capital gains tax relief for sales of businesses to their employees. Companies that look after their employees and help them return to work after periods of sickness will get new help through the tax system too. And we're going to double to £10,000 the size of the loans that employers can offer tax-free to pay for items such as season tickets for commuters. This is a great idea from my honourable friend from Whittam, and I'm happy to put into practice. And my honourable friend for Enfield North and others have put forward proposals to help investment in social enterprises. I've listened, and we will introduce a new tax relief to encourage private investment in these social enterprises. Research and development is absolutely central to Britain's economic future, so today I'm increasing the rates of the above-the-line R&D credit to 10%. Along with our new 10% corporation tax rate on profits from patents coming in next month, this will help make us one of the most internationally attractive places to innovate. I also want Britain to be the place where people raise money and invest. Financial services are about much more than banking. And in places like Edinburgh and London, we have a world-beating asset management industry, but they're losing business to other places in Europe. We act now with a package of measures to reverse this decline, and we will abolish the Schedule 19 tax, which is only payable by UK-domiciled funds. Many medium-sized firms and start-ups use the alternative investment market to raise funds to help them grow. Many observers of the British tax system complain that it has been long biased towards debt financing over equity investment. So today I'm abolishing altogether stamp duty on shares traded on growth markets such as AIM. In parts of Europe, they're introducing a financial transaction tax. Here in Britain, we're getting rid of one. And from April next year, this will directly benefit hundreds of medium-sized UK firms, lowering their cost of capital and supporting jobs and growth across the UK. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we also set out to compete with the world in our headline rate of corporation tax. In Germany, the corporate tax rate is 29%. In France, it's 33%. In the United States, it's 40%. Here in Britain, we've cut corporation tax from the 28% we inherited to 21% next year. But I want to go further, and today I want us to send a message to anyone who wants to invest here, to create jobs here, that Britain is open for business. So in April 2015, we will reduce the main rate of corporation tax by another 1%. Britain will have a 20% rate of corporation tax, the lowest business tax of any major economy in the world. That's a tax cut for jobs and growth. We will have achieved in one Parliament, in these difficult times, the largest reduction in the burden of corporation tax in our nation's history. And with it, we will achieve major simplification of our business tax system. By merging the small company and main rates at 20p, we will abolish the complex marginal relief calculations between them and give Britain a single rate of corporation tax for the first time since 1973. And as with previous reductions in the corporate tax rate, I do not intend to pass the benefit on to the banking sector, so I will offset this reduction by increasing the bank levy rate next year to 0.142%. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Britain is moving to low and competitive taxes, but we should also insist that people and business pay those taxes, not aggressively avoid them or evade them. And that's the right way to succeed in the global race. Under Labour, we had the worst of both worlds, uncompetitive tax rates that weren't paid. When the 50p rate was introduced, tax revenues fell by billions of pounds as the wealthy paid less. That's the wrong way round. Under this government, the tax rates are more competitive and the wealthy pay more tax. That's the right way round. Here's an inconvenient truth for the other side. In every year of this Parliament, the rich will pay a greater proportion of income tax revenues than in any one of the 13 years of the last Labour government. And during those 13 years, too many people were allowed to get away with aggressive tax avoidance and abuse. They boasted that they were paying less tax than their cleaners, and the members opposite lauded them for it. We've stopped that, and that is what I call fair. Today, I'm unveiling one of the largest ever packages of tax avoidance and evasion measures presented at a budget. The details are set out in the Red Book, and they include agreements with the Isle of Man, Guernsey and Jersey to bring in over £1 billion of unpaid taxes, new rules to stop the abuse of partnership rules, corporate tax losses and offshore employment intermediaries. That's another £2 billion. This year we're giving Britain its first ever general anti-abuse rule, and we will name and shame the promoters of tax avoidance schemes. My message to those who make a living advising other people how to aggressively avoid their taxes is this: this government is not going to let you get away with it. And this year, we are leading international action on tax avoidance through our presidency of the G8 and with the OECD and the G20. We want the global rules governing the taxation of multinational firms to be updated from the 1920s when they were first written and made relevant to the global internet economy of the 21st century. This is the right and fair thing to do. Mr. Deputy Speaker, a tax system where people and businesses pay what is expected of them is part of the glue that holds our society together. So too is the expectation that those who work hard, who play by the rules, who save for their future and try to be independent of the state are not undermined but supported. So to the working parents struggling with the cost of childcare and the mother wondering whether it makes financial sense to get a job, we offer this: tax-free childcare. The plans were set out yesterday. New tax-free childcare vouchers for working families, 20% off the first £6,000 of your childcare costs for each child, and increased childcare support for those low-income families on universal credit. And for those who aspire to put aside money for their retirement, we offer this: a simple flat-rate pension accessible to everyone and worth £144 a year. Any £1 you save will be a pound you can keep. We're bringing forward the introduction of the new single-tier pension to 2016. It will help the low-paid, the self-employed and millions of women most of all. Of course, if there's no longer the old state second pension, there's no longer anything to contract out of. For employers, that means paying the same employer national insurance as those without defined benefit schemes. Private sector employers can adjust their pension benefits to accommodate the extra cost. Public sector employers will have to absorb the burden, as is always the case with tax changes. Any spending review in the next Parliament will, of course, take the £3.3 billion cost into account. And we've already made clear public sector employees and the relatively small number of private sector employees in defined benefit schemes will, from 2016, pay more national insurance than they do today. So they will pay the same rate of national insurance as the rest of the working population, and in return they will get a larger state pension than before. For example, someone who is 40 years old when the single-tier pension is introduced and who has always been contracted out will pay an extra £6,000 in national insurance over the rest of their working life and in return get an extra £24,000 in state pension over the course of their retirement. That's a fair deal, and it's a progressive pension reform. We've also made clear before that the extra £1.6 billion raised in employee national insurance will not be kept by the Treasury. Intensive industries beyond 2015. For the North Sea, we will this year sign contracts for future decommissioning relief, the expectation of which is already increasing investment there. But I also want Britain to tap into new sources of low-cost energy like shale gas. So I am introducing a generous new tax regime, including a shale gas field allowance to promote early investment. And by the summer, new planning guidance will be available alongside specific proposals to allow local communities to benefit. Shale gas is part of the future, and we will make it happen. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we can help companies grow and succeed by building infrastructure, backing local enterprise and supporting successful sectors. But nothing beats having the most competitive business tax system of two major carbon capture and storage projects to the next stage of development. We'll support the manufacture of ultra-low emission vehicles in Britain with new tax incentives. And the honourable member for Stoke-on-Trent Central has argued passionately, and on that occasion in a non-partisan way, about the damage energy costs are doing to his city's famous ceramics industry. And he's persuaded me, so we will exempt from next year the industrial processes for that industry and some others from the climate change levy. In the spending round, we will provide support for energy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, a vital sector for our economy and a cost of doing business for everyone is energy. And creating a low-carbon economy should be done in a way that creates jobs rather than costing them. The granting of planning permission yesterday at Hinkley Point was a major step forward for new nuclear. Today, with the help of my honourable friend, the Energy Minister, we're also announcing our intention to take